in, everybody, to Belly Up Fantasy Live Dynasty Edition. Well, first, also, what are you sneaking back up there? You get back down to that. For those of you who have been around for a while, you may recognize Mr. Justin Herrera coming back to join us today. Welcome back, Justin. It's great to have you.
It's funny because Andrew's been waiting to do that since pretty much like week 4 of this. He's been like, why can't I be in the top corner? And now he's like, nah, bro, you're going all the way down to the bottom corner. You're going to feel that corner right now.
I wasn't as harsh as Kevin calling you guys out on the social media.
Justin, I have to say that, despite my bravado, we did miss you, man.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I did. I heard I got a shout out on the first episode of this one.
Wait, you weren't watching?
Oh, you weren't watching us? That's just wrong.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it didn't have me or Coop on it, so.
Oh, jeez. Somebody shut him up now. Okay. So.
Where's that boo button?
No, I'm not going to abuse that like Cooper does. But anyways, we got Mr. Kevin Wilson, as always. Welcome to the weekly show, Kevin. How are you?
I'm doing great, Andrew. And I just want to give because May is military month, I want to give a shout out to my fellow brothers and sisters, past and present, that are out there that are, making it safe for us all to go about our daily business. So love you guys.
Amen to that. Yes. Great start to the show, Kevin. I love that. Chase, you got to follow that up. Welcome. How are you today, Chase?
I'm good so far. Good morning. Looking forward to it, though. Been looking forward to this all week, so.
And apologize if you hear me coughing every now and then. I still have my allergy cough. And apparently during the croquet show on Friday, my mute button wasn't working, and you could hear me coughing through the entire thing. So that was fun. But anyways, we're here for another edition of the Dynasty show here at Belly Up Fantasy Live. And look, there's not much was going on this week in the world of the NFL. It's that kind of slow period before OTAs get started, and so there's not a ton going on. There's slight movement, slight tidbit stories coming out. But what we're finding is a lot of people are actually getting their drafts started, which I think all 4 of us on the show today agree that why? It's too early for us, but we know there's some of you out there. So today we're going to focus on helping you out with some dynasty draft strategies and some trading strategies to set you up for your drafts as well. So we're going to do our best here to help you out with that. And before I want to touch on just some interesting short news here before we get into the draft stuff, is that I want to get all you guys' take on it, because I think it's following a trend here that we're seeing stylistically. The NFL is changing and teams get more creative. I saw yesterday that Dalvin Cook has taken wide receiver reps in bunch sets. Look, and we've seen him jump out in motion to the slot and places like that before, but it seems like they're now designing plays around having him included in as a wide receiver for that specific play. How are you guys feeling about it? Is this something that we're going to see more running backs doing, or do you think this is just a Minnesota utilizing the talent they know they have in Dalvin Cook? Let's go down to you, Chase, first.
I think it's team specific, not from a Minnesota standpoint, but from a team that has a running back who can do that kind of thing. It's the kind of thing that we've seen Christian McCaffrey do his whole career. And in fact, it's what gives him that super number one value when he's healthy, is that he is such an effective receiver. He's a more effective receiver than some receivers in the league. Cook, part of his value has always been that if you can get him in space, whether it's on the outside or whether you can get him a screen pass or a swing pass, is that he's so dangerous out there. I know that the Packers have talked about using Aaron Jones more as a receiver, especially now with the development of A.J. Dillon as a viable running back option in the backfield, a dangerous backfield option. There's talk of Jones running more as a straight receiver, and the Packers have a history of using wide receivers and running backs interchangeably anyway. They were the ones who created Ty Montgomery, after all. And not to mention the Cordero Patterson and Deebo Samuel things. We've seen it go the opposite direction, wide receiver, running back. If you've got a guy with the same skill set, just because he's got a number in the 20s doesn't mean that he can't line up out wide and hurt you too. So I think that it's something where, like you said, they're trying to get more creative in how they use guys, try to be more you're trying to get the most weapons on the field. If you're a successful offensive coordinator in the NFL, you're trying to get the most offensive weapons on the field. Take away the defense's ability to key in on any one guy. Just like on defense, you're trying to get as many pass rushers on a pass play as you can so nobody can be double teamed. If your best receiving options just happen to include your receiver and 2 of your tight ends, come up with some, 2 tight end and a wide out wide and a running back out wide. Put a good running back in the backfield that can actually be a threat in the box. And now who do you pick to take away as a defense? So I think it bodes well for Cook's value. Not that anything didn't bode well for his value outside of his health. But I think it's a thing to monitor in terms of, when you're drafting guys, when you're looking at taking guys, especially these rookies who are now on new rosters, where did they come from? How do they look like they can be used? Like his brother in Buffalo, is that the kind of thing where they can split him out wide more and get some usage out of him there? So, yeah, I think it's definitely a trend to watch and to be cognizant of in your draft strategy.
What I find interesting about it being specifically Dalvin Cook in Minnesota. So you brought up Christian McCaffrey and how we've seen him go out wide throughout his career, and it helped explode him into the scene of fantasy football. A lot of that was because of lack of a passing offense that Carolina had at the time too. So whether it was the quarterback at the time or the lack of receivers because of injuries at the time, they kind of had to do that. What strikes me strange about this is that Minnesota doesn't have to do that. They got Justin Jefferson, they got Adam Thielen, and then they got a bunch of 3 and 4 guys who have proven to be able to step up at times. So they have enough of them between, and I'm going to butcher his name. I always do his first name, but no, they don't have all about they have BC Johnson. Sorry, I was thinking another guy between KJ Osborne and BC Johnson though. And then they went and got Jalen Nailor. They have these guys that can step in and really have a deep receiving core. It almost seems like overkill to where you're taking a guy like Dalvin Cook, who, like you said, if he's only healthy for 8 games a year, he's got a massive injury, history.
Yeah.
You're going to put him in a situation to where he's now doing things that, out wide to where he's making maybe different types of cuts and getting more physical with guys without the ball to where you're giving him more hits. You're giving him more wear and tear on his body. So, Justin, I'd love to hear your take on, what do you think this makes sense in your mind from Minnesota's standpoint with what they have with Cook and his injuries?
Yeah, I think it makes perfect sense. I'm going to come at it from a couple points. One of them being Kevin O'Connell is their coach, and Kevin O'Connell comes from the Rams system, which does exactly what Chase says. They utilize their best players. If they have a running back that can catch the ball, they're going to throw the ball to him. But if they don't, like Cam Akers, he's not really the best guy with going out and catching the ball, so they're not going to really give it to him. But Darrell Henderson on their side, they're going to toss it off to Darrell Henderson all the time. So for this, I think it makes perfect sense. Cook's on what I think the last 2 years of his deal. They have very confident running backs in the backfield that can take over a Cook's role for a couple downs or so. You got Madison back there who, had a couple good games last year. They just got Ty Chandler, the guy out of North Carolina. And I think this is actually more of an indictment on the fact that they may have not either. Irv Smith is not looking that great because I know he just started running routes again, or they don't have as much as they thought they did before with KJ Osborne. KJ Osborne was kind of spotty last year. Mm-hmm. And, I know they drafted Amir Smith-Marset last year, and then they drafted Naylor this year. But, neither one of them, we haven't seen anything from Naylor, but Amir Smith-Marset didn't kind of back his hype from last year. A lot of people were drafting him 4th round thinking he's going to be a big guy in those bunch sets. But so what I'm trying to get at is that I think that along with what Chase said, you're going to be playing your best players. And I've always said it, if you have a really good offensive running back who just needs the ball in his hands in open field, just go out and do that. That's what Cleveland does with Kareem Hunt. I wish they would do that more with Nick Chubb. I wish Nick Chubb didn't have as much of a Stonehand syndrome as he does, because that guy in open field is scary good. He is scary hard to tackle, and he's actually really fast. So, I look at those types of things and I go, yeah, this is actually a perfect fit, because 2 years left on your contract. You're going to run it out. If not this year, next year, he's going to be off the team. and they're going to be looking for a new running back, whether it's retaining Madison, Chandler, or they're drafting somebody. So why not just get a little crazy? Why not just go out there? And you're attacking an NFC North now that's weaker significantly with Green Bay losing Devontae Adams. Detroit is still building. They're looking good. I think they might be an 8-win team this year. But still, this is a division that went from being absolutely dominated by the Packers to being absolutely winnable for the Vikings. So I think from their standpoint, they're looking at all their weapons. They're saying, how can we incorporate these guys?
I mean, it's a fantastic point you make. Out of all the teams in that division, they might be they might be the deepest ready to take that opportunity. So I do love that point that the division has changed a lot. So I do like that. Kevin, are you weary at all about what this means for Cook's injuries going forward, or are you fine and confident with, hey, the more touches for Cook, the better?
Well, the last couple of years, Cook has been healthy up until he gets to the end of the season. And so that is a bit of a concern if you're going to give him more touches, which, given his pedigree and everything else, I can see why they want to do that. He can catch the ball, and that's one of his skill sets. So I could see, them putting him out and seeing if they can get him more involved in the passing game. But, if you have Dalvin Cook in Dynasty, this has to worry you just a little bit that maybe he'll get more, like you said, he'll get physicaled up on more, and maybe injuries will come earlier in the season than later. But, he's a great offensive player. And if you can get him and you can get Madison going also, then that really opens up your offense all the way around. So I would be a little bit leery about this injury with him. But, if he's all for it, and it helps your offense, which it certainly should, go ahead and let's get it going. And, if he's catching passes, it definitely, it brings up his value. So as long as, he doesn't get hurt. So I just hope he doesn't. And I'm excited to see what kind of, numbers he can put up, throughout the season.
Well, and you bring up a great point between you and Justin. Justin brings to the point that he's got probably, he's got 2 years left in his contract. He's possibly going to be gone next year. Or, between you two, you kind of touched on that. So in Dynasty fantasy formats, is this the year that if he's showing out good in the first 5 weeks of the season and he's still healthy, is this the time that you unload him for what you can get between draft picks and players, that you trade him to a contender if you're not contending and you happen to have him? Is this the year then that you start looking at trading Dalvin Cook off of your dynasty team to prepare for the future?
I think that you nailed it right there. Are you contending?
Yeah.
If you're contending, there's no way you move Dalvin Cook off your roster.
Sure. Yeah.
There's no chance of that happening, no matter how great he looks and what offers you might get for him. If perchance you're not, then I would certainly, and if he's killing it, I would entertain offers for him. If I'm contending, maybe I wait till the off season and see what I can do. So, contending, not contending, that's the key to that whole argument.
Justin, do you agree with that there?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I agree with what Kev said. You'd have to blow me away if I was a contending team and you were to offer maybe 2 2023 first-round picks and a suitable replacement for him. I'd be like, okay, yeah, that works for me, because if I can still get dynasty value this year and then get a lot of value in next year's rich class, I would take it. But if we're talking about, you're trying to jit me into a second and maybe, I don't know, some limp dick, it's on the Patriots or something like Pierre Strong or Kevin Harris or something like that.
Okay,
you can keep that offer. I will take that offer.
Save that as a teaser. We're going to talk about Kevin's current draft that he's on the clock on right now anyway. So we'll get there today. Don't worry. We'll keep that. But in the meantime here, we do actually have a comment here from Nick Sybil.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
It's a perfect question to ask us. Are there any rookie QBs that are draftable in Dynasty this year? And I think, Chase, let's go to you first. It looks like you're ready with an emphatic yes. Give us your take on that.
Well, it's Dynasty. I mean, depending. I don't know what your quarterback situation's like, Nick, but this is Dynasty. We're drafting not just for the now, we're drafting for the future. We're looking in a couple-year window here in the future. Pittsburgh has Mitch Trubisky. They've signed him. I think they signed him more as a hedge their bets kind of thing. I don't think anybody really, if they're honest with themselves, thought Mitch Trubisky was going to be a 5-10 year starter for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think he can and probably will start this year. I think so, because I think it's worth giving Pickett that time to develop behind him. But they drafted Pickett. He's a more or less hometown guy coming from Pitt. It was a good move for their fan base in terms of goodwill. And he's got some skill. We know that. I forget about his hands. My hands are small too. Of course, I'm not playing NFL quarterback, but you're definitely looking at him as somebody that's draftable, that's takeable right now, because you can see his path to future value. And I'm not talking distant future value. I'm talking near future value this season, next season. If you're starting him on your fantasy team this year outside of a 2-quarterback league, even if he is the starter for Pittsburgh, you're probably in a rough position anyway. If he's your number one guy this year, but he's definitely takeable. I think that Corral in Carolina is draftable because there is a viable path to relevancy for that guy, and that's what you're looking for. I'm not taking either one of them high in a fantasy draft this year, in a dynasty rookie draft this year necessarily, depending on my team's needs. If I'm a team that's still 2 years away from contending or so, and I know I'm weak at quarterback, or my quarterback is Tom Brady and Rodgers or whatever, and I know that in the next 2-3 years I need to replace, it might not be, the worst idea to take a look at one of those guys. They are definitely draftable in a dynasty format this year.
Well, I think what might be the better way and this might be the way Nick meant this question, is it might be a more interesting way for us to answer it. Are any of these QBs, and you kind of touched on it, draftable to have an effect on your dynasty team this year? Or anybody who's going to have the earliest effect. So like you said, I think Corral and Pickett definitely have paths to that. I think Ritter in Atlanta has that same path with Mariota starting. So there's definitely some options. I don't think you can expect starter value out of any of them to where, like you said, 2 QB leagues, or if you're just desperate and you got to just, like, you're rebuilding for the future anyway, so you're just going to throw them out there and rebuild your other positions first. That's fine. I personally think in early rounds of dynasty drafts right now, it's clear it's the wide receiver and running back class this year. I mean, that should be where everyone's going. Justin, is there anyone else that we haven't mentioned that you think could have QB value this year in dynasty leagues for these rookies?
Well, I mean, you've kind of mentioned them all. I'm not huge on Malik Willis having value this year. One guy I can look into is I'm going to look at the volatility of the Philadelphia Eagles right now. Jalen Hurts is their guy for right now, but they've kind of built it up to, if he doesn't do anything and fails, then, I mean, there's a shot for Carson Strong to step up and have a shot. And while he has, like, Kenny Pickett has small hands, Carson Strong has, like, no knees. Like, this guy played pretty much on 2 ACLs that were torn when doctor said don't do it. So this guy is tough. He might not be the smartest guy because he went and did that. He might have ruined his career at some point. But here's the thing. He had the biggest arm going into this draft. He was the least mobile. He was the big man of this draft. You did not want to see him running, but if you saw him throwing the ball, you were like, okay, this guy can actually get it downfield. They've got A.J. Brown now. They've got Devontae Smith. They're going to be able to push the ball downfield if they have enough quarterback strength or enough QB arm from Jalen Hurts or Carson Strong. I don't think he's going to be a starter this year. It's just something to kind of plug into your head because he goes undrafted in most of these drafts. And if you can, if you think you're going to lose him, put a 4th-round pick on him. It doesn't really matter at that point. I mean, if you got all your guys in the first 3 rounds, 4th round's all about taking dart throws anyways. You just got to think about the situations these guys are in. Obviously, you're not going to get Bailey Zappi because Bill Belichick likes Mac Jones.
It's the 2nd year, so no way.
Yeah.
And he was a 1st-round pick. Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Jalen Hurts was a 2nd-round pick, and he has shown volatility. He has shown this point where he's had terrible games. We all forget that last year, most of his season was, when they were down by like 30 points in the 4th quarter. Like, he would be like, oh, yeah, I rushed for 2 touchdowns and I saved my game. You're like,
Yep.
oh, you're like fantasy. You're like, yeah. But then when you really look at it, you're like, the Eagles didn't beat a winning team.
Nick
in the
Sirianni is
regular
not
season.
thrilled about garbage time points.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
that is what's
exactly.
interesting about Jalen Hurts is because you nailed it on the head there. He was a great fantasy quarterback last year for a good portion of the year. But yeah, as an NFL quarterback, his job was at risk and still
He's
is,
on the
so,
hot
like you
seat.
said,
Still
to
is.
some extent this year. And I think that's what people forget because there's so much of the NFL, so much of the way the NFL is watched nowadays is through a fantasy lens. It's almost greater than 50% at this point. So when people hear experts, analysis, people say that Jalen Hurts is on the hot seat, they find it outrageous. And now because Jalen Hurts is getting so much hype as a fantasy quarterback, and as a fantasy quarterback, deservedly. But at the same time, we also have to pair that with reality in that if he loses his job, he now goes from 20 average points for your quarterback to 0. And that's a pretty high risk. So I actually love that take that Carson Strong is someone that you can be looking at. So I do like that. Kevin, what's interesting? It does feel like, and I'll go to Kevin on this one. It feels like Philadelphia's been building their offense to kind of put Hurts in a position to succeed. With Strong being more of a like you said, a non-mobile quarterback in the pocket, traditional quarterback. Does Strong fit in the offense they've created though?
I don't think he does at present because they're building their offense around a guy who's mobile, and just like with Tua down in Miami, I said this before, they're setting up Hurts to either succeed or get off the pot. You know what I mean? Just hit the road. And so he's got the weapons. He's got, what he needs to succeed right now. And if I'm Jalen Hurts, I'm not worried whatsoever about Strong. I'm not even paying attention to him because unlike Tannehill, his hold on that quarterback spot is not, secure. So he's not there to help Strong out whatsoever this year. He's trying to solidify his own place in the lineup. And I think that Jalen Hurts is going to be okay, this year. And if he's not, then like we said, he'll be out there on walking the streets, looking for a job, and it's just the way it is. And in the NFL, that's the way things work. You either succeed or you don't. He's on his first contract, so they can cut him and not worry too much about that at all. So I think Jalen Hurts is going to be fine this year, and I'm kind of hoping so because I've got some of his weapons, sprinkled throughout my fantasy team. So I'm just kind of got to hope that he's okay. And to answer, the question that Nick's putting out there, it depends on what kind of league you're in. If you're in a one quarterback league, these guys have no value whatsoever. None to me, none whatever. And even in a two quarterback league, in this league that, we talked about earlier that, we're drafting right now, which it's silly, but anyway, I'm not commissioner. I don't run it, but Kenny Pickett came off in the first round. That is insanity to me. There's no way that he's going to measure up to that value.
In rookie drafts, there should be no quarterbacks in the first round.
There should be none whatever that goes off in the first round.
Is that a Steeler fan?
I kind of like.
It might be.
It might be a Steeler fan. Yeah.
And but Corral came off the board. I think it was the third. I could see that. Yeah. And because this is a two quarterback league. So I could see that value right there, but I didn't draft any quarterback. We're in the fourth round. I haven't touched any of them, and I don't plan on it.
So part of the reason why I came out of the draft thinking Philadelphia actually had one of the best drafts in the league is that I think they set themselves up for two possible futures: the Jalen Hurts future, where we know. Devontae Smith can obviously handle a mobile quarterback because he was successful with Hurts last year, and AJ Brown is athletic enough to also, kind of free. What's it called? I can't think of the word now.
Freestyle.
Freestyle. Thank you. He's athletic enough to freestyle to make something out of nothing there. But I think what's also key is that we've seen AJ Brown have his biggest success so far with a non-mobile quarterback in Ryan Tannehill, and we've seen Devontae Smith in college have success with a non-mobile quarterback in Mac Jones. So, I mean, this is something that both of them, I think, can transition back to being able to operate in an offense that is suitable to a Strong in the case that it goes to Strong and Hurts does fail. You know, I mean, that's harsh fail. But, I mean, I think that's where we are. He's either going to succeed or he's going to be gone.
Right. Yep. He's going to be an all-pro or he's going to be on the street.
Yeah, so I think Philadelphia has set themselves up perfect for, and if they truly believe in Strong as their guy, which they might, then fantastic for them getting him at the value they got him for in the draft, and still having the rest of the offense capable of being able to handle whatever situation they decide to go with. So I do love that situation for Philadelphia there. I think they could be a good team here for the next handful of years here, depending on these guys shaping out the way they plan on it. I think Philadelphia is a team that you're going to want some pieces of for sure. And just real fast, before we do jump to our commercial break here from Manscaped, how is that? You mentioned this draft, Kevin. How's that going for you? I know you ended up taking Thornton in the 4th round of this late May rookie draft, which is still outrageous to me. But how's that team looking for you?
Okay, so I can give you the
give
scoop.
us the rundown real fast.
I'll give you the rundown real quick. All right, so the first round, I took Christian Watson. I had the 10th overall pick. I had traded my second pick, so I didn't have a pick there. Then I took Rachaad White, running back out of Tampa Bay. And then this last pick, Tyquan Thornton, the wide receiver out of New England. So I did that while we're here. Andrew, you're going to give me good luck with that pick.
Well,
it's
still Bill Belichick we're talking about here.
Yeah. So there's a guy here that took Malik Willis and Matt Corral back to back.
Ooh.
You tell me if that makes any sense, whatever.
That makes zero sense.
Yeah, I mean, that's not a bad move. If he's looking for that 3rd, 4th quarterback going forward, I mean, I think a lot of people. Where did he pick them? What pick was he of the draft? Okay, so was he a winning team
Malik
or a
Willis
losing
was
team?
Second. I'd have to look more into that, but he took Malik Willis in the 2nd round. That makes no sense. Then the 3rd round pick was Matt Corral.
Okay.
So as I said, Kenny Pickett was the first quarterback taken in the 1st, and Sam Howell came off the board on the 4th round pick. Desmond Ridder in the 2nd.
On the 4th round pick, I'm fine with that, honestly, because that's like we've said, that's 4th round.
Yeah, Washington.
Yeah, that's a money pick right there. Yeah, I should have actually had that as my pick, to be honest. Sam Howell's in a situation where he can
in the 4th round. Yeah, absolutely,
100% agree. Yeah, that's a good pick.
So, Kev, I just want to ask.
Right. Also, the 1st overall pick was Breece Hall, which I'm not too big on that either.
I can't stand people taking Breece Hall number 1 in rookie draft. It is a wide receiver first class this year. I'm sorry. I am not high on Breece Hall being number 1 overall in rookie drafts. Justin, are you going to disagree with me?
I'm going to throw this to you. You guys know this. I am not the biggest Breece Breece Hall fan. I have been shitting on him all throughout our draft coverage.
Especially in his landing spot. He didn't land in a good spot for that at all.
He landed in a fantastic spot. Absolutely fantastic.
No, he didn't.
Think about it. Kev, just think about it for a second. They run a wide zone offense, just like the 49ers do. All he has to do is find the lane, and he has breakaway speed. He runs a 4.39. Like, I've been preaching this the entire time ever since that pick was made. Michael Carter is essentially done. I mean, I don't think he's full-on done, but when you pick somebody 2 rounds ahead and he's built like a tank, he runs faster than your Michael Carter, and at the same time, like, your offense is just predicated on opening up the door and somebody being able to run through it. Like, I'm totally on with that one. I mean, Breece Hall 101 on me.
If Michael Carter had been their top option last year, he would have gotten the run of being their top option last year.
Yeah.
They have a good offensive line. They are an up-and-coming team. If Zach Wilson makes a second-year jump at all, they've got sneaky possibility to be a good team. They're going to be a better team than a lot of people think they are.
Well, they have to be a better team. They're the Jets. They're sorry. They've been sorry for years.
But their offense.
But you can't use that against them. You can't use that against them. Like Chase is saying, like, you got to look at it from the perspective of what they've done. They went out there. They got 2 tight ends. They have 3 wide receivers that could be wide receiver ones. Like Corey Davis, a weak wide receiver one, but he could be a wide receiver one.
Let's get on Elijah
You've got
Moore, though.
2 running backs. If Zach Wilson ever learns how to just throw it to a scat back, Michael Carter will have a lot of value.
And that's where I do agree with you here. So I do think the situation in New York was a good fit for Breece Hall. I do not agree with him as the number 1 overall pick in a rookie draft, though. I think I'm not willing to pay that value for Breece Hall. And that's not me saying he's going to be a bad running back. I just think if whatever my situation is, I think there's more value to be had for the future of some of these wide receivers than there is at Breece Hall in New York. But the situation couldn't have landed better for him. There was maybe 2 other teams that it could have landed better for him, and it would have been like Houston or Seattle, maybe. Like those would have been also paths to being relevant fast. And I've been saying since the Breece Hall pick that everyone was still after that pick hyping up Michael Carter as the number 1. I'm telling you right now, when my rankings come out on Wednesday, the first rankings of my offseason this year, Michael Carter, I'm considering as the running back 2 in New York. Breece Hall is the running back 1 in New York, in my opinion, because Michael Carter is going to revert to what he's known for, quote unquote known for. We haven't seen that much of him, but his skill set is much more for like a passing back, and it's what he's going to be reverted to. Zach Wilson, I'm super high on this year. I think he's going to have a big year. Elijah Moore, I don't think is getting nearly enough hype for what he can do. I think his injury late in the year last year really simmered down his supporters there. I think Elijah Moore is going to be great this year. I think the Jets offense, even if they're not a good NFL team necessarily, I think the Jets offense is going to be super fantasy relevant this year, and you're going to be able to get just about all of them at good value. Other than if people are taking Breece Hall at the number 1 overall pick for rookie drafts, maybe not him. That
goes back, Andrew, to when are we doing our drafts? If we're doing it in August, and we could see that Breece Hall is in fact their number 1 running back, then maybe we could talk. I'm still not going number 1 overall, but still,
agreed. Yeah.
I'm not buying that. Right now that Michael Carter, you might as well take him and throw him off a cliff somewhere. I'm not buying that yet. So that may well happen, but in May, I'm not buying it.
So I'll propose this. I actually agree with what you're saying, Andrew. Like if you're a bottom dwelling team and your pick is Breece Hall, it's maybe not the best for you. But say you're like a top 4 team in your league, you have a loaded roster, and you trade up. That's my number 1 right there.
And
I've seen that a lot.
If you're gonna trade up for that because you're already loaded and you have the ammunition to trade up for that, then sure, that makes sense. But if you're drafting Breece Hall as with the number 1 overall pick with the idea that he's going to be your number 1 running back for this season, that's where I think the mistake is. But in the scenario you just laid out, I get that. That makes sense from a dynasty standpoint.
Yeah, I think that's probably like the best way to put it, because really in this draft, it's kind of like a hard thing to think about what player is really going to benefit you the most this year. Because you got good players like Drake London, but he's on a shitty offense. Yep. You've got Trey Burks, but you've got to take into the fact that A.J. Brown hasn't produced a wide receiver 1 season in a while. So why do we think a rookie's going to come in, take his numbers, and do that? You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things where you're just making your own number 1 at this point. But if you do have a situation where you can hop into that pick and make that pick, I'm going to make it all day long.
Yeah, and that's been kind of my feeling. I was saying, I think me and you might have even talked about it to where if I'm a team that's just like one guy away from I'm contending, but I'm one guy away from really being a championship caliber team. Like in the first round of these rookie drafts, I'm skipping some of those bigger names like your Drake Londons who are in bad situations, and I'm going for your Watsons or your Olave, who I think are in better situations to produce this year, because that's what you need. If you're trying to hit that championship, you're trying to hit that championship this year, and you're just one piece away, you're going to have more luck of getting there. Not more luck per se, but you're going to have a better chance of getting there with someone like Watson or Olave, who are going to be inserted into that offense immediately and possibly have a massive role in that offense immediately. So I agree with you there. And real fast, I know I said before we were going to get to the commercial break real fast, but I think just to round out our current discussion, and I'm going to say this wrong probably, D Gregorio 1200 on YouTube, just to round up, because this does bring us back to the Dalvin Cook point that we were talking about earlier. And Chase, I'd love for you to touch on this, because this kind of plays to what you were saying, in that with Mike Zimmer gone, and Justin, you were saying this too as well, but with Mike Zimmer gone and the offensive style really changing, the more, if they're going to be less run oriented, the more ways that they're going to find Dalvin Cook to get involved, maybe is the better. So how do you feel about this question here or this statement, I should say, from D Gregorio 1200? I am so sorry.
No, he's got a point. Whoever has a point about, it's a question about what direction their offense is going to go. But I think it's more a question from the standpoint of a football fan than necessarily a fantasy football standpoint. Sure. Like Justin was talking about before, O'Connell, he gets the ball in his best player's hands, and he'll use a running back that can catch to get yards, to make plays. Cook is a guy that we know can make plays in the passing offense. So I think that, it doesn't matter who the offensive coordinator is. An NFL offensive coordinator with Dalvin Cook is going to find ways to get the ball in that dude's hands.
Well, I
don't care if they're running the run and gun Jerry Glanville Oilers offense, or if they're running a straight power run game like University of Wisconsin. A good offensive coordinator is going to get the ball in Dalvin Cook's hands. So I'm not worried about Dalvin Cook from the standpoint of being a possible top 5 type running back or his usage. If he catches the ball more power to us if it's a PPR league or half PPR league. Great. Because he's going to get the yards, he's going to get the touches. The only question I have with Dalvin Cook, and I don't care if he's catching the ball, running the ball, handing the ball off to the ball boy on the sideline.
You've seen him throw it too. Don't leave that out.
Is he going to stay healthy? If he's healthy, I don't care what the offensive philosophy is. He's going to have the ball in his hands. He's the best offensive player they have outside Justin Jefferson, and they're going to get him the ball.
Yeah, the health is definitely the big question. Are there any Kevin or Justin, you have any final thoughts on the Dalvin Cook situation before we hit our break here?
No, I think Chase hit it right on the head.
Fantastic. All right, we're going to jump into –
I just want to give a shout-out that's my friend Dale that's giving you these comments, by the way. So shout out to him.
Dale, okay. And if I mess up the name, I am so sorry, Dale. But thank you for tuning in. Thank you for interacting with us. We love that. For anybody else listening, whether you're watching us on Tiki, on Twitter, or on YouTube, I believe YouTube is the only place where the comments live are working right now. So if you want to leave us a comment, jump over to YouTube, hit us with a comment on here, and we'll show it live. We'll talk about it. We're here for you. But in the meantime, right now, we're going to jump to our Manscaped ad, where we know we like to take care of all types of balls here, beach balls, as we learned last week. So jump on in, listen for a bit, and we'll be right back after this.
Summer is coming, the sun is shining, shirts are off, and your balls are smooth. You heard that right. Your friends at Manscaped are here to make sure your beach balls are as smooth as Floridian sand. In summer, you want to kill some cold beers and barbecues, not kill the vibe with pubes peeking out of your swim trunks. That's why Manscaped has their Performance Package 4.0 to keep the party in your pants looking crisp and refreshing all summer long. Dive head first into the summer by joining the 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped, and get ready for hot guy summer by going to manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping with the promo code BellyUpFantasy. The Manscaped Performance Package 4.0 has everything you need to prepare for that summer bod. Inside this package, you'll find their Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, Crop Preserver ball deodorant, Crop Reviver toner, and Performance Boxer briefs with a travel bag to hold all your goodies. Want to take your grooming to games even further? Take a look at Manscaped Shears 2.0, a package that has everything you need to look pristine. Nail cutters, tweezers, and grooming scissors. With the Performance Package 4.0, your balls will be ready to impress, but make sure you cover the rest with the Shears 2.0 and you'll be ready to perform from head to toe. Get 20% off and free shipping with the promo code BELLYUPFANTASY at manscaped.com. And one more time, that's promo code BELLYUPFANTASY for 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com. This is a summer to turn your package into the full package with Manscaped.
Don't these Manscaped Don't these Manscaped ads feel like they need some sort of like little jingle to it? I feel like there needs to be a jingle at the end, like old like 1970s style jingle. That would be
Jingle bells. Yeah. Let's do it.
Oh yeah, there you go, jingle bells. Yeah,
Jingle balls.
The jingle ball rock.
I'm sure there's got to be a song already out there, Jingle Balls, somewhere along the way.
There probably is.
I'm pretty sure Dan's nightlife is actually working as a phone sex operator because he does that way too well. He's got a beautiful voice for that.
Beautiful is the word I would have used there.
We're gonna have to have a Dan Tells All. We'll have him on one episode, and we'll see what he can inform us about what he does on his spare time. Because you're right, he crushes those ads for us. But in the meantime, we did want to touch on draft strategy here, and once again, Dale coming in with a perfect timed comment here. So we're going to go back to Dale here and answer one of his questions. And the question is quite simple. Is Jonathan Stewart still the clear-cut #1 overall pick? And look, I think in dynasty formats, look, he's already on a team. So let's, for a short time here, let's jump into redraft kind of style. Are you taking Jonathan Stewart with your #1 overall pick still? Considering everything we said about Dalvin Cook and the way offenses are changing and the way the Indy's offense might change with Matt Ryan at the quarterback, how do you guys feel about Jonathan Stewart?
Kevin, you take this one.
Me?
Justin or Kevin? I don't know. There's no Jonathan on this call right now. So
yeah, so we need a little direction here.
All right, Justin, jump to it because you seem to want to say something right away. So jump
go,
Justin.
Go, Justin.
Well,
Go.
I'm going to say this. Jonathan Stewart is definitely my last pick of any draft.
He's got D'Angelo Williams
out of the league for a little bit. But I know what you're saying, man.
You know what? I read that question 3 times. It didn't even click to me. You're 100%
Yeah.
right. Oh my
I'm waiting for you to crack up on it. I'm just
where
like,
we going
he's
with
playing
this?
along with this real well.
How did I miss that phrase? Jonathan Taylor is still the #1 clear overall pick.
Hey, I
You know
think
what? I
these
wish I
jokes,
liked to
I
interrupt
think we've gotten a couple more viewers just because we've been cracking up these jokes. But
we did just have a little spike there, so I agree. But hit us with Jonathan Taylor take. Jonathan
Taylor. Okay, so now we can discuss this in a rational manner.
Your friend, dude.
And to answer the question, Jonathan Taylor is still the #1 overall pick without question to me, in redraft especially.
Yes.
yeah.
No question about that. And if I'm doing a restart dynasty draft, I'm still probably taking him #1 overall.
Yeah, no, 100%. I agree 1,000% with Kevin. And an earlier comment, he was talking about Matt Ryan being there. That ups it for me. I'm actually writing up an article right now that's doing a study on how older quarterbacks target running backs more than any other quarterback. You know, you hit a certain age and you just start realizing the field just becomes open to you. Start realizing you have check downs, you have tight ends that are running shorter routes.
Tight ends
you don't have to just lob it out there. So when I look at this and I go, Matt Ryan being there means Jonathan Taylor is going to get more catches. I mean, Nyheim Hines is still going to eat, but last year Taylor was targeted 51 times. He got 40 targets with a quarterback that doesn't like to check down.
Yeah.
Carson Wentz has never been a check down guy. He's always been somebody who throws it over the top, plays hero ball.
He's a slinger.
Yeah. But
And
just
if you
like we
wanna
were
look
talking about with Dalvin Cook, when you have a guy who can take it at any single time to the house, like literally he can take it from his own goal line to the house. Don't you want the ball in that guy's hands all the time? Of course you do.
The time.
Of course
Jonathan
you do.
Taylor, from a dynasty standpoint, Jonathan Taylor, if you want to get into analytics and running back ages and that, Jonathan Taylor's only 23. He's
23 years old.
He's got several years in
If
the
he stays
golden
healthy,
window,
if he doesn't have a career-changing injury,
right? He's got several
Christian
years in the
McCaffrey.
golden window, and he's probably got Matt Ryan for at least a couple of those golden years. Matt Ryan is, of course, he's on the downswing of his career.
Sure.
But he's the most talented, intelligent passer that they've had there since.
He's still a smart guy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
you can take Jonathan Taylor at the top of your draft and not have to worry about like CMC last year. So.
Yes, no, because so far Jonathan Taylor has shown us that he can stay healthy. Now it's been one big year, but it's still a pretty big showing that he could stay healthy, considering the workload he got in Indy last year towards the end of the year. Like he was getting the ball a lot and he stayed healthy, so that's definitely a good look for him.
And they've got a good offensive line. That's a good.
That's it. They've got a great offensive line, so Matt Ryan's not going to be rushed.
No.
So that brings up a great point, because Matt Ryan in Atlanta the last few years, he really lost that name of Matty Ice, and I think a big part of that wasn't necessarily on him, but that offensive line he was behind
was terrible.
It was terrible.
It was absolutely god awful.
He would see one read, and next thing you know, he's going to run around and he's going to find anything.
And Matt Ryan running around is not a good look.
And exactly, that's not Matt Ryan's style of play. It never was his style of play. In
no,
BC, it's just
like
not when he was 26, let alone when however old he is now, 36, whatever it is.
But if you're worried about Jonathan Taylor because of Matt Ryan, there, I would say think back to when Matt Ryan was younger in the league and Devontae Freeman popped off the scene in Atlanta. I think it's more of a likely scenario that Jonathan Taylor can mimic. And look, Jonathan Taylor, I think, will have a better season than Devontae Freeman had that year. But I think the offense as a whole, with Matt Ryan at the helm, is going to be closer to that style of what we've seen out of Matt Ryan in Atlanta in his time in Atlanta. When Devontae Freeman they had a better offensive line then.
Think about Patterson and Davis. Like,
sure,
Davis might have been nothing last year, but he still got targeted.
He was nothing last year. There's not a might have been about.
But he still got targeted. That's what I'm saying. He got targets, and Patterson had a career year, and it was because Matt Ryan had to go to running backs.
Yeah, so I think if anything, Jonathan Taylor is going to probably get even more catches this year. I do agree with you there, Justin. It's Jonathan Taylor in redraft and dynasty startup, whatever format other than where he's already on a team, should be your number one overall pick. 100%. I do agree with that. And speaking of drafting now, we were going to spend most of the show on this, but now we really just have a couple minutes left. So I'm going to pivot here because we were going to talk about drafting styles and strategies here. But, I think one thing we did mention earlier when we were talking about the Vikings that I think is interesting, especially in the dynasty format, is we brought up Irv Smith running routes again in Minnesota. And Irv Smith is one of those. I'm not going to put him at the same talent level as Kyle Pitts, but he's one of those stylistic same tight ends where he plays almost more like a wide receiver. And when it comes to fantasy value, especially in dynasty, that's going to be very valuable. So with Irv Smith getting back on the field, how early so if it's a startup dynasty, how early are you willing to take a shot on Irv Smith? And if you're already in a sustained dynasty league, are you looking to trade for Irv Smith in a buy low situation? Chase, let's go to you first.
If it's a buy low situation, I'd be willing to take a look at him, depending on who else is on my roster. I don't know that I'm not jumping on him early in any kind of startup or anything like that. Mm-hmm. But I mean, he doesn't have to contend with Kyle Rudolph or with Tyler Conklin anymore. Those guys are gone. If he's healthy, he's going to be the guy at tight end, and they have shown a willingness to throw to tight ends. Conklin had a good year last year.
Even Irv Smith, when he's been healthy, he's been very relevant.
Yes, and Cousins is still a good passer, as much as it pains me to say that, coming from the Green Bay angle. Cousins is a talented passer. They have an offense where they throw all over the place. Honestly, if Cook is split out wide, that's only going to help every other receiver that they have. You brought up the idea of overkill earlier. Hey, overkill still kills. So go for it. Irv Smith, honestly, thanks in part to the Dragon's Milk here last year, I came out of my keeper league with Irv Smith on my team, even after his knee injury. Yeah, no, that didn't help, but it ended up okay because right there. So
that's what you want right there. The ring.
That's what I'm talking about. No, Irv Smith has some ability. I would take him on a buy low if he's available in your league. I'm definitely jumping on that. But I'm not going to spend early draft capital or anything like that on him. Definitely.
No, and I agree.
He's still a tight end. I'm taking him at regular tight end value. If we're in a startup draft, I'm looking at him from a redraft standpoint in terms of his draft value. I'm going to wait for a while. If he's available,
you get him.
I'll take him.
So, friends, because that's the thing you got to remember when it comes to the tight end position. The tight end position is going to be the same way it's been for the last 5 years or so. It's going to be Travis Kelce, it's going to be Darren Waller, maybe one other person surprises like a Dalton Schultz or something. But
Andrews.
There's always going to be somebody that shows up out of
all the
nowhere.
way.
And so when it comes to somebody predicting who's going to show up out of nowhere, you're going to want the most athletic tight end that's going to be involved in non-blocking situations. And Irv Smith is up there. And for instance, in best ball, so I did a couple of best ball drafts this week, and I got Irv Smith at I think it was the 153rd overall pick in my best balls, which I think is like the 12th or 13th round. I think that math adds up to. I will take Irv Smith best ball or dynasty if I can get Irv Smith that late. Fantastic. I'm going to take that all day because that means I was able to load up at every other position. I can still get a high end. It's the same reason why in some of these rookie drafts or best ball drafts or whatever, Justin, me and you talked about this on Twitter and some comments earlier this week. I am all over Greg Dulcich with my last pick of any style of draft. I don't care because I think we've seen what Albert O is in Denver in that offense. I mean, sure, Russell Wilson's at the helm now, but I think Albert O is going to settle into more of a blocking role. I think Greg Dulcich is athletic enough to where he is going to take over the top pass-catching tight end role for that offense. And if I'm going to just take shots in the dark at tight ends, I might as well take a shot as Greg Dulcich as my number 2 tight end behind someone like an Irv Smith or whoever else I can get later in these redrafts or in startups, whatever. I like Greg Dulcich. I like Irv Smith. I think this bodes well for Irv Smith going forward. I mean, it's the state of the tight end position. Let's be honest. It's just it's gonna be a surprise every week, every season. Someone new pops up.
I like Dulcich as a future flyer at tight end. I don't necessarily know that I'm downgrading Albert O from where he was. He is a good blocker, but at the same time, I don't know. Russell Wilson's a better passer than Albert O has ever had.
Fair enough.
Between the two of them being there and between Dulcich being a rookie in that, I mean, I don't know. I'm not sure that it's tight end gold to take him for this year. But in a dynasty format, I would like Dulcich's stock is good.
And that's why I say like last pick in all formats.
Yes.
I guarantee in all formats you can get him
14th, 15th round.
We'll see, Andrew, because I got the last pick of the last round, so I'll see if he's still hanging around or not.
Well, if he is, you better take him. That's all I'm saying.
So, just to add in on Smith, Minnesota seems to believe in him, and so Minnesota's offense is a good offense, and so if I can get him later on in the draft, that would look great.
Irv Smith is more athletic than Tyler Higbee, and Tyler Higbee did okay for himself fantasy-wise and reality-wise under O'Connell in Los Angeles.
That's a fantastic point.
Very fair. That's very fair. Yeah, I mean, I think Irv's definitely got the talent to do it. It's going to be all about can he stay on the field, and that's really been the only thing that's held him back for his entire career is can he stay on the field. This team is going to be passing more. You look at that Rams offense last year, everybody wants to say it was a run-centric offense. It wasn't a run-centric offense. They ran the ball 39.7% of the time.
That was the number 1 wide receiver.
Yeah, exactly. But it just goes
Minnesota has the number 1 wide receiver.
Implementing there is going to be a lot of pass-heavy stuff. So we're going to be looking at, is KJ, like we were saying, is KJ Osborne the answer? We thought he was the answer, but maybe he was just the answer because Irv Smith wasn't there. Maybe Irv Smith getting introduced into this team. And like Chase said, Higbee's eaten plenty. They always tried to force a tight end in there when Higbee was gone. I mean, I think they had Jacob Harris and they had I can't remember the other guy.
There was some great DFS weeks in there for some of those tight ends.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you were playing DFS, you might have actually got a little bit of a nugget there. But all in all, I mean, Irv Smith, he stays healthy. He gets back to it. He's got a legit chance to be a top 10 tight end. And that's what you want when you're going into those later rounds. You
absolutely.
want to
he could very easily be that guy who shows up in the top 5 this year that no one expected.
Oh, and like you said before, you go floor early, ceiling late.
Yeah. Why? There's no look.
Absolutely.
There's no-
Floor,
why-
especially in the first round.
Yeah.
Give me a reason. Yeah, give me a reason why Irv Smith can't be Dalton Schultz of last year. I mean, come on. Irv Smith is much more athletic than Dalton Schultz ever was or ever will be, and Dalton Schultz was able to slide into top 5 tight end last year. I mean, Irv Smith can get there if you can get him late. Why not? I'm all over.
I'm all
At
in
the
on
right
that.
value.
All in.
Yes. We are coming to the end of the show here, and as always, we want to give everyone a chance to go around the horn here. So, Kevin, tell us, where can we find you? What do you have going on this week? Exciting that you want to plug for everyone to see.
Well, as you all know, the Belly Up Fantasy Live baseball show will be on tonight, 8 Eastern. As Vince says, that's where time begins, apparently. So check us out over there, 8 Eastern. And you can always go to the Belly Up Fantasy website. I've got an article. There's going to be one that's going to get dropped. It's ready to go. Pretty much, it'll be dropped by tomorrow for sure. And you can always find me on Twitter at Kevin62WILSEA. So, we've got lots of comments coming out on this show. If you like to continue that, just jump over on Twitter, throw me comments. I'll be more than happy to talk with anybody. And, I'm just out there, so check me out.
Justin, what about you? We had some of these people haven't seen your face in a while. Let's get everyone updated with where they can find you, what you got going on.
Well, I mean, first off, thanks for having me back on. I know that we had a little bit of a little show rivalry for like a show or so, maybe half a show, like a segment.
For the entirety of the show. Just
one-sided, it ain't a rivalry.
Yeah, that's right. We're rivalries, but we're brothers. So there you go.
Exactly. I mean, I love you boys. It's always good to chat it up with you guys. But yeah, as of right now, I mean, you can catch me on Twitter, SemtexMex93. I'm always throwing out hot takes. I'm always throwing out some numbers. I actually put out, it's funny that Andrew was talking about Elijah Moore. I put out, a post on how I think Elijah Moore is going to be a stud because of all the relevance, From week 6 to 13, he was wide receiver 4 in standard, wide receiver 6 in half-point PPR. And if you want to just check that out, it's a SemtexMex93. I also do Dynasty Brews podcast on Thursdays at 9 p.m. We stream to Facebook and Twitter at that time. And then we do 9 a.m. on Belly Up TV on Saturdays. And TSS, I'm also associated with TSS. And we got some big things coming. We're going to be doing a 32 for 32 series. And we're going to be having some cool-ass guests coming on, along with a possible really nice giveaway with somebody we've been talking about for a little bit. A little hints getting dropped here and there. But anyways, yeah. So otherwise, thank you for letting me come on again. And it was a pleasure as always.
Fantastic. And Chase, hit us with what you got going on real fast.
Yeah.
You're always welcome, brother.
Letting you come back on after you told us you shut us down if we didn't let you back on. Okay. As always, find me at STT Chase FFB. Join the movement. Be a chaser. Check me out there. Again, offering hot takes, or what I think are hot takes anyway, but we all think that about ourselves. Also, check it out at Belly Up Fantasy Sports and Picks. Myself and my fellow fantasy writers are just starting to roll out.
It's rolling, Chase. It's rolling.
Yeah, right.
Get over there. Check it out.
What I'm talking about. We're just starting to roll out team by team looks at fantasy prospects for the year, and what you can expect from each team and what to look for. Maybe some hidden gems. So definitely check it out over there at the website bellyupfantasysports.com. Like I said, myself and my fellow fantasy football writers are just starting to roll out the team-by-team league preview. So
fantastic.
Hop over there.
Well, and as always, huge shout out to Belly Up Media, Belly Up Sports, who produces and lets all this happen for us. And then Tiki Live, Roku TV, Apple TV is where you can find us all. You can find the Belly Up TV app on all those locations to hear all of our shows. We have a ton of different podcast shows that you can watch live and pre-recorded and on demand, however you choose to have it. But anyways, thanks for joining us again this week. I'm Andrew LeDuc, a.k.a. Mr. Mallard. You can find me at Real Mr. Mallard on Twitter. And it has been a pleasure having you guys here this week with us. We'll see you next week.
That's right. Everybody have a great week out there.